The other piece of information in this study that she did not report on that caught my attention was this other area that was very, very active, which is actually my very favorite part of the brain. Yep, I have one. My very favorite part of the brain is called the insula. And I want to talk to you for a minute about the insula because it is the coolest part of the brain. Because how many places can you find food poisoning cockroaches and your own mom? I mean, come on, it doesn't get better than that when it comes to the human brain. It's tucked down inside. It's a very hard place to find. It's the only part of the covering, the cortex, the bark of the brain. It's the only part of the covering that's completely folded in and covered and protected. And when we think evolutionarily, you got to wonder why it's protected. Must be very important. It does some pretty important stuff. So if any of you have ever suffered food poisoning 10, 15 years ago and you're still avoiding that food, you can thank your insula for that. If I question any of you about it for too long, your mouth will start to sweat. You'll start to feel a little nauseous if you try to go near the restaurant sometimes. Or if, and most of you, can anyone think of a time they were food poisoned 10 plus years ago and they remember what they were wearing? And you won't remember what you're wearing any other day that week. You can remember where you were. You won't remember anything else from that week. Here's how it works. Your insula is in charge of your gut. And it keeps track of your gut feelings. But here's why it's so amazing. It can take that information up and make a memory, but it can also top-down recreate that feeling. So when you get that same sickening feeling in your stomach, it's your insula keeping you alive. Because if you were poisoned by food and you lived, and I'm so happy you did, you're an omnivore. You have other choices. Humans are omnivores. We have lots of choice. So you don't have to go near it again. So it's good thinking for your insula to actually keep that in check. Now, your mothers, or at least my mother, I'm sure no one here has ever done anything wrong. But if you have a friend who's done something wrong, or if you've heard about someone who's done something wrong, if you ever feel guilt, where in your body do you feel really guilty? The stomach. People even say, like, oh, I'm sick about it. I feel sick about it. I feel awful about it. I committed a crime in second grade. I stole a small chemistry set from my classroom. I slipped it into my backpack just because I wanted to see what was in it. It was a box. And I walked home, and I got more and more and more upset as I was walking home. And I was very lucky I had a mom who stayed home with us. And I came through the back door, already in tears. And she said, what is wrong, sweetheart? What's bothering you? And I said, and then I vomited on her feet. And now that I'm a parent, I really respect that she didn't just leave. She was like, okay, I need to get a dish towel. I need to sit down. Please sit down. What's the matter? So I say to her, I stole this chemistry set. And she did something really interesting. She said, how do you feel right now? And I said, terrible. She said, do you like how you feel right now? No. Honey, can you think of any way you can avoid this in the future? And I remember being like, yeah, because you're not supposed to take stuff that's not yours. And she was like, right. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to leave it in your backpack. You're not allowed to look at it. And tomorrow when you go back to school, you're going to put it back where you found it. And I was like, you're not going to call the school? She was like, no, I'm not going to call the school. But you're not to look at it. You're not to play with it. You're to put it back where you found it. And in that moment, I think my mother saved me from a life of crime. Now, I think it would have been nerdy crime. It would have been like Bunsen burners, Erlenmeyer flasks. I don't think it would have been a very successful life of crime, but she did do something important, which was that she didn't shame me. So guilt is a very important emotion for humans. Guilt's very effective. It's a very good way for us to learn. It's a very quick way for us to learn. Shame is an indictment of the whole person. And so if you see someone in front of you who's already feeling quite guilty, and vomiting and crying usually is a sign that you do feel something, if she were to have pushed farther and really given it to me and really punished me more, it probably would have shamed me. Once a young person is shamed, they have nothing to lose. If I'm a bad person and nothing I do is good, why bother trying? Guilt is a very effective thing in small amounts around a specific behavior, and the insula gives us that. It gives us a horrible feeling. Because what evolution has done brilliantly is it's taken our social norms and everything that is right and wrong in our society, and our brains have overlaid that on top of the food poisoning system. So that if you violate a social norm, if you do something wrong, you feel as sick as you do when you have bad food poisoning. That's clever. That's really smart in terms of keeping society cohesive.